All right, so we've got this big stack of yoga stuff you sent over. It looks like a pretty good mix of stuff, like ancient texts and some more like recent research articles.
Yeah.
And even some personal stories in there. I'm curious, what's the goal for today's deep dive? Like, what are we looking to uncover?
Well, you know what I find really interesting here is how much your sources show people being curious, not just about what yoga is, but how all that like ancient wisdom can be applied to the problems people are dealing with in the world today.
Right.
So I guess our deep dive today should be about bridging that gap, right?
Yeah.
Like figuring out how yoga's philosophy and like the actual practice of yoga can be useful to people today.
Yeah, I like that. It's like taking a treasure map of ancient wisdom and then like using that to figure out the modern world.
Right.
So where should we even begin?
Well, all your sources really stress that yoga is more than just the poses, right?
Okay,
It's this whole system with, a really deep philosophical foundation.
I see.
Now, we could go into all 8 limbs from Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, but, maybe we should just focus on one that seems super relevant to life today, and that's saucha, or cleanliness.
Okay, cleanliness. That's interesting. I think most people, when they think of yoga, they think about flexibility, not really cleanliness.
Right.
So, like, what's the connection?
That's what's so cool. Like, saucha does mean, like, physically clean, but it goes way deeper than that.
I see.
It's about purifying everything, your body, your mind, and even the space around you. Your sources make it pretty clear that this ancient principle can be like this really powerful tool for managing stress
Wow.
and for just like boosting your mental clarity and even for building stronger relationships.
So it's like spring cleaning for your whole self.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, especially today when we're constantly like overloaded with information and everything's just so stimulating.
Exactly. And your sources explore how practicing saucha can mean a lot of different things, like decluttering your physical space,
Yeah.
getting rid of stuff,
Right.
or setting boundaries in your digital life, and even, cultivating positive self-talk. It's all about creating space in your life, both inside and out.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I know for me, like if my desk is messy, my mind feels messy too.
Right.
It's like outer chaos leads to inner chaos.
Exactly. And your sources highlight something else? This principle of saucha can actually extend to our relationships too.
Oh, wow.
Like it's about talking to people honestly, setting healthy boundaries, and just letting go of like negativity and resentment. The kind of stuff that can clutter up your emotional space.
Yeah, that's really interesting how this idea of cleanliness can be used in so many different parts of modern life.
Right.
Like a way to create order and balance in a world that just feels so chaotic and overwhelming.
Yeah. And when we talk about history, your sources take us on this journey through time. Like they trace yoga all the way from ancient India to its forms today. It really shows how yoga has adapted and changed over centuries, and that it's still got the potential to keep evolving and meeting the needs of people who are practicing it today.
So yoga has this amazing history and a philosophy that really speaks to the challenges we all face today.
Right.
But let's get practical for a second. You've got all these research articles in this pile.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they look at like the actual benefits of yoga, right?
Oh yeah, totally. All your sources explore tons of scientific evidence that backs up what yogis have known for centuries,
Okay.
that yoga is just plain good for you, both physically and mentally.
Okay.
And what's really cool? Research is starting to go way beyond just flexibility and stress reduction.
Oh.
Now they're looking at how yoga can impact things like brain function, your heart health, and even how fast your cells age.
It really sounds like yoga is way more than just stretching and breathing deep.
Exactly. So like in one of your sources, there's this study that was published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease.
Oh, wow.
And they found that just 12 weeks of doing yoga actually made cognitive function and memory better in older adults.
Wow. So yoga could help us keep our brains sharp as we get older.
Yeah. And there's more. There's another study, and this one's in the International Journal of Cardiology, and they looked at how yoga affects heart health. And get this, the researchers found that practicing yoga regularly led to some really big improvements in blood pressure, cholesterol levels, and even something called heart rate variability, which basically means how well your heart can handle stress.
So it's kind of like yoga is giving your heart a workout, but in a way that makes it stronger and tougher.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And what else is crazy? Some of your sources even talk about this new research looking at how yoga can affect aging, like at the cellular level.
Okay.
There's more and more evidence showing that yoga can actually protect your DNA from getting damaged, which could mean it slows down the aging process.
Wow. Okay, that's really interesting. So we're talking about something that's been around for thousands of years,
Right?
and it might have secrets to living longer. I'm starting to get why you're so fascinated by all this stuff.
Yeah, it really is amazing how this ancient practice keeps showing us just how deep and powerful it can be.
Right.
And what makes it even better is that everyone can benefit from it. It doesn't matter how old you are or how fit you are.
That's really important because sometimes I think people think yoga is only for people who are already like super flexible or in really good shape.
Right.
And your sources are saying that's just not true.
Exactly. In fact, some of your sources even point out that yoga can be especially helpful for people who have physical limitations or chronic health conditions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there are styles of yoga like chair yoga or restorative yoga that are made to be really gentle and accessible.
I see.
So you can get the benefits without putting too much stress on your body.
So basically, there's a type of yoga for everyone, no matter where they're starting from.
That's the idea. And your sources offer some good advice on how to get started. One thing that keeps coming up is that it's really important to find a good teacher, someone who can guide you safely and help you do it right.
Makes sense. Probably not a good idea to just start twisting yourself into crazy positions based on like Instagram videos.
Nope. A good teacher won't just teach you the poses and how to do them right.
Yeah.
They'll also help you understand like all the little details of the practice, like what to change if you have any limitations. Your sources also talk about how important it is to listen to your body and not push yourself too hard.
Right. So it's not about pushing yourself until it hurts.
No.
It's more about respecting what your body can do on that particular day.
Exactly. Yoga is all about being aware of yourself and being kind to yourself. And to others, too.
It really seems like yoga is about so much more than just being flexible. It's about building a deeper connection with yourself, physically and mentally.
You got it. And you know what else? Your sources talk about some practices that can help you on this journey of connecting with yourself. One they mention a lot is pranayama or breath control.
Okay, I've heard of pranayama, but honestly, I'm not really sure what it is. Can you explain it?
Sure. So in yoga, your breath is like the bridge between your body and your mind. Pranayama is all about using certain breathing patterns and rhythms to like consciously control your breath.
So it's like hacking your nervous system using your breath.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Well,
By controlling your breathing, you can actually change your heart rate, calm your nerves, and even shift your mood.
wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know when I get stressed or anxious, taking a few deep breaths always helps me chill out a bit.
Yeah.
But I never thought about it as like an actual practice.
And that's the cool thing about pranayama. You can just take a few deep breaths here and there during your day, or you can make it a more structured practice with specific techniques and visualizations.
Okay.
Your sources even talk about how some pranayama techniques can give you energy while others can help you relax and feel more grounded.
So it's like you have all these breathing tools and you can use whichever one you need at that moment.
That's awesome. I'm noticing a theme here. It's like yoga is all about giving you these tools and practices that you can use in your everyday life to feel better overall.
You got it. And your sources really emphasize that the real magic of yoga happens when you take it off the mat and bring it into your life.
It's about using those principles of mindfulness, self-awareness, and compassion in everything you do.
Right. So it's not just about how flexible you can be or how long you can stand on your head.
Exactly.
It's about how you live your life, how you treat yourself and others, and how you handle all the ups and downs.
Yeah, beautifully said. And you know, your sources say this is like a journey, not a destination. It's a process of learning about yourself, growing and changing that takes time.
Yeah, I like that. It makes me think that even if you don't consider yourself a yoga person,
Right.
there's still something valuable in trying these practices and seeing how they can make your life better.
I totally agree.
This deep dive has given me so much to think about. We've covered a lot, from that ancient philosophy of Sacha
Yeah.
to the latest research on the benefits of yoga to tips on how to actually get started. It's such a rich and complex practice. So what's next? What other gems are hidden in this stack of sources?
You know, there are a couple more interesting things I wanted to touch on, especially about how yoga can help you grow and change as a person.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
Okay, so some of your sources explore this idea of yoga as a path to self-realization. Like, it's a way to discover your true potential and live a more authentic and fulfilling life.
That sounds really powerful, but it also sounds kind of abstract and maybe even a little intimidating.
Right.
So how does that actually work in real life?
That's where the beauty of yoga really shines. It gives you practical tools and techniques that can help you on this journey of self-discovery. Like, a lot of your sources talk about the importance of self-reflection, or what's called svadhyaya in yoga.
self-love. Yeah, okay, that's a new one. What does that mean?
Basically, it means taking time to look at yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions without judging yourself. Your sources say that doing this kind of self-study can help you see patterns and habits that might be holding you back. And then you can make choices that match your values and goals.
So it's kind of like looking in a mirror and being totally honest with yourself about what you see.
Exactly, and that can be really tough. But your sources make it clear that yoga gives you a framework of support and guidance. It encourages you to be kind and curious with yourself instead of being critical.
That's an important difference. It's not about putting yourself down for your flaws.
Right.
It's about treating yourself with kindness and understanding as you try to become the best version of yourself. I love that.
Yeah, and you know what else your sources talk about? They highlight how important community is in this journey.
Right.
They say that even though yoga is often seen as something you do on your own, it can be really amazing to connect with other people who are on a similar path.
Yeah, so it's like finding your people you know,
Right.
the ones who support you and inspire you to grow and change. That makes sense. It's hard to do this kind of deep inner work all alone.
For sure. And your sources point out all the different ways you can find that sense of community, like joining a yoga studio near you, going to workshops or retreats, or even just connecting with people online who have similar interests.
This deep dive has been incredible. We've explored so much, like the ancient wisdom of yoga, the science behind its benefits, and even practical tips on how to get started.
It's amazing.
Yoga is such a rich and complex practice. So, do you have any last thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, if there's just one thing I hope you take away from all this, it's that yoga is a gift. You know, it's like an invitation to go on this lifelong journey of self-discovery, growth, and transformation. And it's a journey that's open to everyone. Doesn't matter what your background is, what you believe, or what your physical abilities are.
I love that. Yoga as a gift. And it sounds like it's a gift that keeps on giving. You mentioned earlier that yoga has changed and adapted over time.
Right.
So, what do you think the future holds for yoga?
That's a great question. And actually, your sources talk about that a little bit.
Oh, cool.
It's pretty clear that yoga is going to keep evolving to meet the needs of people practicing it today. Like, we're seeing all these new styles of yoga that focus on specific things like yoga for athletes, yoga for pregnant women and new moms, and even yoga for people who have experienced trauma.
Yeah. So it's like yoga is becoming more and more a part of our lives in different ways.
Exactly. And technology is a big part of that too. Like with all these online platforms and apps, yoga is easier to access than ever before. People can practice right at home and connect with teachers and communities all over the world.
That's amazing. It really opens things up for people who can't get to a studio or just prefer to learn on their own.
Totally. And your sources say this is making yoga more accessible to a much wider and more diverse group of people.
I see.
It's not seen as just for like the elite or spiritual people anymore. It's becoming more mainstream and inclusive.
That's really cool. The more people who find out about the benefits of yoga, the better.
I agree. And who knows what else we'll learn as we keep exploring this ancient practice.
Right.
Maybe we'll find new ways to use its wisdom to deal with the challenges of the world today. Or maybe even more scientific proof of how powerful it can be.
The possibilities are endless. This deep dive has been truly eye-opening. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how deep and wide-reaching yoga is.
I'm glad to hear that. And just remember, this is really just the beginning of your exploration.
That's true. This has been like a little taste of what yoga has to offer.
The real journey starts when you step onto your mat and experience it yourself.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of yoga.
It's been great exploring this with you.
We hope you feel inspired to explore the amazing power of yoga in your own life. Until next time, may you find peace, joy, and connection on your journey.